The History of Raven Rock, Volume 2, by Liren Taleno. Forward. Raven Rock is one of the more interesting colonies of Morrowind of the last 2 centuries. So much has happened to this tiny town in such a short amount of time, and so many lives have been affected by it, I felt it necessary to describe its rich history within these volumes. During my research, I lived in Raven Rock for almost 3 years, and I got to know many of my fellow Dunmer who call Raven Rock their home. I hope that my readers will appreciate the amount of fortitude and perseverance that it must take to endure life in such an inhospitable and untamed land. After a few years, the relentless ash storms from the ever-erupting Red Mountain had transformed Solstheim's southern reaches into pure ash wastes reminiscent of those present on Vardenfell itself. The storms would leave behind deep dunes of ash that made life exceedingly difficult in Raven Rock. In order to protect the town from these drifts, Brara Morvain proposed that the East Empire Company construct a large wall of her own design to protect the east end of town. The company quickly agreed and provided the necessary funds. After almost a year, the construction was complete, and the huge edifice was named the Bulwark. The wall proved to be extremely effective and allowed work to continue unabated in the mines. In 16 of the Fourth Era, when Solstheim was passed into the hands of the Dunmer people, the East Empire Company was forced to relinquish Raven Rock's control to House Redoran. The council quickly named Brara Morvain as counselor of their new town, and allowed her to rule Solstheim as she saw fit. As a result of this changing of the guard, almost the entire Imperial population left Raven Rock and returned to Cyrodiil. Brara continued to welcome the Dunmer that elected to settle on Solstheim. Some chose to stay in Raven Rock to work in the mines, and others took to more familiar territory and began a nomadic lifestyle in the ash wastes. The next few decades were the golden years for Raven Rock. Brara Morvain was keeping the peace, the mines were still producing large quantities of ebony, and the Dunmer that lived on the island were happy. After almost 50 years of prosperity, in 65 of the Fourth Era, Brara Morvain finally succumbed to old age and passed away. She was interred in the family's ancestral tomb, and her son, Laeral Morvain, took her place. The people who had lived in Raven Rock during Brara's time as counselor were pleased to discover that Laeral shared his mother's notions of rulership. He was fair and compassionate, which kept the people on the island happy for many decades.